The Pokémon games are notoriously broken. In current generations, there are overwhelming numbers of graphical and rendering bugs, as I'm sure you've seen the windmills with a frame rate lower than the one in Kakariko Village on the N64. And if we go back to the first 3 generations, we see some very broken glitches. I'm sure everyone remembers learning how to duplicate items from another kid on the playground by encountering Missing No, or that you could clone Pokémon by turning the game off while saving at the storage system. However, the speedruns use an entirely different set of broken glitches. For instance, using a glitch where you trigger a wild Pokémon battle the same time you lock eyes with a trainer, then dying to that Pokémon, the game gets into a very weird state so that when you go back into Viridian Forest, you get warped to Professor Oak, who plays the credits after speaking to him, beating the game in just over 10 minutes. Even crazier, by using save corruption, where you corrupt and edit your save file, you can beat the game in just over 1 minute, with a similar save corruption being used in Generation 2 to beat the game in under 8 minutes. It's obvious that these games were held together by duct tape, and you'd think that by Generation 3, Game Freak would have gotten their act together. But that couldn't be further from the truth. From walking on water to freezing the game with the acro bike and a host of battle glitches, Gen 3 was also very broken. However, the glitches had very few applications in the speedrun. That is, until now. Recently, a previously known glitch involving the mail system that was determined to be useless for speedrunning was reinvestigated, and the results were the most broken glitch in Ruby and Sapphire history. In today's video, we're going to see how this was discovered, look at the different routes created with it, see how stealing trainer Pokémon became a part of the speedrun, and ultimately see how low these new discoveries brought the record. Remember the guards in Gen 1 that wanted a drink? Maybe they wouldn't have been so thirsty if they had this video's sponsor, Gfuel. Gfuel is an energy drink company with a ton of different flavors and beverages, and they're all packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and zero sugar, giving you the extra energy you need without the crash. Currently, there's a Black Friday buy one get one free offer happening now with 4 new flavors. And I've got the sour cranberry grapefruit flavor here, and the drinks are easy to assemble. Just take a scoop from the tub, stir it into water, and you're ready to go. Or bundle a shaker cup with your order and skip the stirring step if you prefer your drinks like a secret agent. You'll want to act fast, as the Black Friday BOGO offer is only up for a limited time, with every order getting a free enamel pin. And orders over $65 receive free shipping, so you can load up for the holidays during this massive sale. Get your energy drinks from G Fuel by using my code Abyssoft for 20% off, and don't forget to take part in the Black Friday buy one get one free sale while it lasts. And with that, let's get back to the video. The first any % speedruns actually did use mail glitches. The first let you walk over water so you could catch a level 35 Tentacool early. Then later, another mail glitch was used to duplicate rare candies to level it up to 67. But while this route did use glitches, it took so much time duplicating the rare candies, then feeding them to a Pokémon, that it was only about 8 minutes faster than doing the speedrun without them. We'll get into how the mail glitch works later. For now, all you need to know is that lots of weird things can happen if you steal mail from a Pokémon in battle, then send it to the PC. However, there was one player that knew the mail glitch had the potential to be much more broken than it appeared to be, and Metrich was determined to break the game with it just like it had been done in Fire Red and Leaf Green. While looking at the game's code, he realized something. The mail item has 2 callback functions after it in memory. He thought that by exploiting this code, he could make headway on creating a credits warp for the speedrun. However, while looking at the mail item's code, he noticed something else. When a mail is in the PC, it has a lot of useless data after it. In this case, he wanted to take a glitched mail and fill it with specific data so that when it overflows into the useless data, some very complicated black magic happens that causes the data to be executed as a credits warp. This is easier said than done, however, and the first method he came up with was by exploiting the contest event. The steps to achieve this version of the credits warp are exceptionally technical, even for my channel, so we don't need to know everything, but it has 2 key elements, a specific trainer ID and winning a contest. The value of the trainer ID determines some events in the game, such as which old man will be in Mauville City, and if you get the trader or storyteller old man, this glitch will fail, as the data won't be configured properly for the exploit we're going to do. As for the contest, we won't get into the details because they are very complicated, but the Spark Notes summary is that winning a contest adds some extra data to your Pokémon so that when the mail glitch is activated, parts of the data attached to the mail overflow into the useless data after it on the PC and trigger a credits warp. This route wasn't particularly fast, and after it came two different Spinda routes. The first still used contests and was relatively short-lived, but the second was considerably faster, clocking in just over an hour, and instead of using the contest, it set up the data using a specifically patterned Spinda and the trend mechanic. The trend mechanic takes two words the user inputs to an NPC in Dewford Town, then checks their trendiness value, and if they have a value higher than the current trend, that word will be adopted and start being used by NPCs. But there's one issue. The value they're assigned is completely random, and this route requires you to play for an hour just to roll the dice on getting the correct value. This brings us to Spinda, which needs a specific pattern so we know it has the correct stats. However, Spinda's pattern is random, but by doing a save and quit, then taking some specific actions, you can guarantee you'll get the frame that has the perfect Spinda for the glitch. After this, a lot of black magic takes place. By setting up the mail glitch and having a specific trainer ID combined with the correct trend and Spinda, when you look at the Spinda in the Pokédex, the game will crash. This is actually part of the route, as you've now put a glitched Pokémon into your inventory that has a way to execute a credits warp built into its code. All you need to do is move it between boxes. But first, it needs the credits warp code to execute. So, by writing certain characters to box names, when we switch the glitched Pokémon around, the game then reads the box names as instructions to warp to the credits.
Yes! I think we got it! Go!
Yay!
Go, 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 go. Spinda, hurry up. Yes! Oh. Let's go. 59.49.
This route was good, but it wasn't super fast since it still required getting 3 badges. So, Metrich decided to do something even crazier. He was going to corrupt the game so you could catch another trainer's Pokémon, then use that Pokémon to do the credits warp with. Normally, this isn't possible, as the trainer will swat away the Pokéball when you throw it, and even if you did catch a trainer's Pokémon, there's another problem. Since trainer Pokémon have a different trainer ID than the players, they are almost always broken, glitched messes. However, under rare cases where the trainer ID is similar enough to the players, the Pokémon you stole would only have glitched species data, and it just so happens that this data was messed up in just the right way that it could be used with the mail glitch and perform a credits warp. The trainer stealing route has a lot of advantages over the Spinda route. While it still required having a specific trainer ID and manipulating the starter Pokémon, which we'll talk about in a second, the data from the stolen Pokémon combined with some black magic made it so that players could skip getting the 3rd badge. Unfortunately, no footage exists of the 2-badge route, as it was relatively short-lived, because through further research, Metrich found a way to skip getting the 2nd badge, requiring only a single gym battle. This route was very fast, but it had 2 major problems. First, there was a frame-perfect trick at the very end to ensure you got the specific glitched Pokémon, and second, you had to manipulate that Pokémon while it was under the other trainer's control so that it had a specific PP value for its moves, as the PP value plays a key role in the data being correct. Additionally, you're required to wait almost 2 minutes to start the encounter with the trainer you're stealing from to guarantee you get the correct glitched Pokémon. And on that point, making sure the Machop has the correct PP takes a lot of time, with about 6 entire minutes being spent during this setup. What's crazy about this route is that if you look at where the trainer Pokémon is stolen, you can see the game starts to break down almost immediately. But luckily, it holds together just long enough that the credits warp can be completed, with BluMagma setting the first sub-hour world record with the route.
Yes, dude! Hell yeah. With the Zubat. Zubat is not even part of the route. Yes, dude. Oh, that's nice. It's nice to hit it first try, finally.
This was the coolest and fastest route to date, and speedrunner Dunewacky was doing attempts where he didn't manipulate his starting Trico, and when he got to the end of the run, this happened. Metrich looked into what was causing the crash and found that the data from Dunewacky's unmanipulated Trico was the culprit. And when investigating this, he realized something. There was another way to do the credits warp. So he went back to the drawing board, and what he came up with was even faster than the forbidden jutsu we just looked at. This is the current fastest route, so we'll be going through it piece by piece, and the very first things runners have to do is manipulate their trainer ID. The trainer ID is set on the frame you confirm the final dialog box of the intro, so by using a timer that starts when the game boots up, you can use audio cues it plays to help confirm the input on the frame needed for the specific trainer ID, which is 09281 in this case. In addition to this, you also need to name yourself the maximum number of characters, as this helps align the data for the credits warp. Then you can start playing the game. The first few minutes are just text mashing, but not long after this, the first trick is a precise manipulation to get a Trico with specific stats. The reason for this is so the Trico can two-hit the upcoming encounter. And to do this, you need to confirm the Trico on a specific frame. So runners use a save and quit to reset their RNG just before the fight with the Poochyena, then use the timer one more time to help align their input on the frame needed. If everything is performed correctly, you'll get a Trico with the adamant nature and 19 HP, with it dispatching the Poochyena in 2 pounds. However, the manipulations aren't done yet. They're just getting started. After talking to Professor Birch, you're sent on your way to find the rival and have a battle, but there's a lot of tall grass you're forced to walk through. Luckily, there's another manipulation, as MachWing created a step route that can get you to the rival without triggering a wild Pokemon battle, because the RNG in Generation 3 has a fatal flaw. Once the battery in the game pack is dead, the RNG seed will always be the same, so by resetting, you'll always know what your starting RNG is. Since the last reset took place about a minute ago, and it's mostly text smashing outside of the battle, you generally know when you'll be getting outside of the lab. And since the NPC movement is tied to the RNG seed, by looking at where the NPCs are facing, you can know what RNG seed you're on. Once you know that, you can then take steps on a specific path that will have you get 0 encounters on that particular RNG seed. However, the rival encounter itself isn't manipulated, because it's harder to be precise when navigating menus, as you can't buffer your actions like you can in the overworld, so you queue up Pound and hope it kills in as few hits as possible. After this, you're off to the first gym, pounding your way through trainers as you go. And remember how I just said that manipulating battles is hard? Well, for Roxanne, we're going to do just that. Battles are hard to manipulate for 2 reasons. First, you need to clear text and confirm moves frame perfectly. And second, RNG moves twice as fast while in battle, which means you'll always be on an odd or even numbered frame depending on when you start the fight. And even with a save and quit, it's still tricky to time this perfectly. For the Roxanne fight, odd frames are what you want to be on, since odd frames have all of the best outcomes. And luckily, if we start on an even frame, there is a way to switch to odd, as multi-hit moves take time to calculate how many times they will hit, and this calculation time can change your frame from odd to even or even to odd. So, if the fight starts on an even frame, you can easily get to an odd one. There are lots of different outcomes depending on if your frames are odd or even, and these outcomes break down further based on if your inputs are early, on time, or late. So, this fight is very complex and aggravating to do correct even for experienced runners using Flow Timer. But once you're through it, there's only one manipulation left. Abra. Like everything else, a save and quit followed by specific actions guarantees that Abra will be caught. But why is it important? Abra can learn Thief, which is the key to making this entire glitch work, because next we're going into a double battle. But before that, we're going to equip and remove 9 males to Abra, then equip a 10th to Trico. We've talked a lot about the male glitch, and it's finally time to see how it works. When a male is removed, it's sent to the PC, but the PC only has 10 slots to hold male. Okay, so no problem, right? Since we only sent 9 males to the PC. Well, no problem yet, because what we do next is going to make a major problem. In the doubles battle, we'll have Abra target Trico with Thief to steal a male from it, which is an issue, because when a Pokemon without male steals one in battle, it then acquires the male item. but the game never sees it as having been given a mail. So, if you take this mail from Abra, you get a glitched mail in the 10th slot of the box. Because the glitched mail is in the final spot, the extra data we specifically modified has nowhere to go except beyond the bounds of the mail list, and it starts overwriting other things in memory. And to activate this glitched mail with a built-in credits warp, all you need to do is go to the mail and read it. However, there's one more step before that. The payload we wrote isn't quite enough on its own to warp to the credits, so by renaming some boxes that the game is going to read as more data when we activate the glitched mail, the game is fully primed for us to beat it with only a single badge, with BluMagma achieving the first sub 30-minute time on August 14th.
Yes! Nice. Let's go. It's not a sub 29, but it's sub 30.
It's a sub 30?
Yeah. It's almost 29.
Since then, ChippyToothy has lowered the record to a sub 28, and I must say that while the trainer stealing method wasn't the fastest, it's still my favorite way that a Pokemon game has been broken. Thanks to BluMagma and Metrich for help with this video, and I hope to see you in the next exciting episode of Abyssoft Z.